Hello again, my friends. Welcome back into the living room. This is the Living Room Guitarist. Thanks for joining us. My name's Dan. I'm your host. We are a show, of course, dedicated to playing the 6-string or even the 12-string if that's your thing. But this instrument, this guitar, it's our passion. We play not because we want to be pros and do all these wonderful things and make money off music, and we probably don't play at that level. We're mostly amateur players who just play around our living rooms. You know, we like to create and express ourselves and see what's on this fretboard and discover how we can become better. We like to get together with other buddies that play guitar, just again, not because we want to, go and get gigs and be recording artists. No. This is just about playing this instrument because of what it does for us, because we just need to. So this week, what I'm going to offer, by the way, our email address is livingroomguitarist@gmail.com, livingroomguitarist@gmail.com. Would absolutely love to hear from you. If you've seen or heard something on a past show that you want to respond to, you heard a tune that you learned and said, okay, I can take this tune and you start playing it and then go in your own direction and you come up with something else or expand it or whatever. We'd love to hear what you've done with anything you've heard on a past show, or we certainly love to actually feature you as a guest with your own living room material. So yeah, contact us, let us know. If you're anywhere up and down the East Coast, you can certainly come in here. We'll film it live. We can do something over Zoom and play that. Again, I can always hop on a train and come to you wherever you are if it's accessible. Many ways to do this. But yeah, we just absolutely love to have you as a guest on the show, because there's a lot of living room players out there that just love to play. Not because they're good, whatever that means. It's because they just enjoy this instrument. So we've got something this week that's sort of based, it's either an A or G, I can't really tell, but there's a story behind it. I'll tell you just very briefly. I'm very good at remembering dates. 2011, it was one afternoon, I was hanging out in a music store in New Jersey, and there were several of us at the guitar counter there. We're just kind of chatting, a little bit, and it just happened to be my, umpteenth year high school reunion that year, and I just mentioned that. I won't tell how old, but I just say I graduated in the 80s from high school, and there were a few of us kind of in the same age range, just sort of hanging out and talking about, yeah, the 80s, wow, yeah, I remember that, yeah, I remember all the members-only jackets, the parachute pants, the funky black and red high-top Reeboks that people wore, and the dance clubs playing the Pet Shop Boys and blah, 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 all the pop culture stuff. And then we were sort of saying, well, wait a second, though. Yeah, I remember all that, but I didn't do that. We didn't participate. None of us. We were just talking about, yeah, I remember seeing all that, but that wasn't my thing. I didn't do the 80s. And so we're sitting and saying, you know what? I guess we failed the 80s. And one thing led to another. And a couple of us said, you know what? We should just write a tune and call it I Failed the 80s. So we sat down there in the music store, and they gave us permission just to kind of hang out. So we grabbed some axes here, and fortunately they had something lefty for me. And we sat down at a couple of amps, and we're just messing around. So, all right, what would it sound like to say I failed the 80s musically? And we wanted to come up with something that had sort of an 80s flavor to it. So, sort of an 80s alternative rock flavor to it. So I don't remember what this guy's name was, because I just met him there in the store. We didn't exchange numbers and say, hey, let's get together and jam or something. We did just a little 45-minute thing. We were just hanging out. And he started playing this variation of an A blues kind of riff. And he went like this. Let's do something. So I took it from there, and I came in with something like this after some exploration. And then, all right, so there's some little riffs that gave it an 80s flavor, we thought at the time. And then we ended up in this alternative G, so we're sort of going like this. And then we ended up back here on this A. To here, and then we did a variation around that G, so it's got quite a stretch to it, but it sort of sounded like this. was. And then we ended up kind of doing variations of C and G back here. Messing around and kind of figure out how do these pieces fit together. Again, it's either an A or G. I can't really figure it out, but we wanted to end on something like this where you just kind of so again, it had that sort of 80s alternative vibe, you know, we thought at the time. But it was just fun to play, and I submit it to you today because, you know, maybe you're like me. Maybe you failed the 80s too. You didn't participate in all the pop culture stuff so much. Maybe you were just doing your own thing. You know, for me, I was in, you know, early in my radio career at the time and, you know, trying to be a screaming maniac on the air 6 days a week and, you know, playing guitar in my spare time, like as a living roomer, a good living roomer. Dedicated living roomer, I guess. So livingroomguitarist@gmail.com. I'll go through this a little bit. So again, it's just starting on that A, and you know, you think of that A blues kind of. So we're just articulating it a little bit differently, just hammering on that 4th and 5th fret. So just pretty simple there. And for me, you know, what I started to do is I came down to the 3rd string up on the 4th fret, 3rd string down on the 5th fret. So just playing those together, hammering on the 5th, and then moving it up. So those same 2 middle strings now on the 5th and 5th and 7th fret, and then come back to 4 and 5, and then 3 and 4, and hammer on the 5th there. If you want to do a little scale, I guess it's just a C scale from there, but you know, there's other ways, little fills you can do it to get back there, but going to this G, so 3rd fret 1st string, 5th fret 2nd string, and then 4th fret 3rd string down. So we're going to use those top 4 strings, but we just start with kind of on the first 3 strings, and then pick that bottom. So that, again, that sort of has an 80s feel to it, you know, sort of some of the music of the day. And then we come to a standard C9 here. Alright, so again, we're not picking up that high E string at all, we're just playing that C9. Back to that alternative voicing with G. Sometimes we'd also do this hammer on here on that 3rd string down the 5th fret and then stretch it to the 7th. It's a good hard stretch, but if you can do it well, if you've got big enough hands and really stretch, it sounds kind of neat. So we hammer on. And if you've got the ability, just come down, move everything down 1 string and do it on the C. Sometimes I bring it down to this fret here, this C. It's easier to do the stretch for me because I have relatively small hands. Sometimes we do this little variation of a C. So it's again 3rd fret, 2nd string down, 2nd fret, 3rd string down, and then on the 4th fret, 4th string down, and you get kind of a neat little sound here. just move your two fingers up here to the first and second string. So it goes from a variation of a C to a variation of a G. It's got bits and pieces there. You can help me and whoever that gentleman was that I was working with way back then help us kind of fit this together into maybe a cohesive tune, and it can become sort of a song. I failed the 80s. There are a lot of us out there. We remember all that stuff from the 80s, but that really wasn't our thing. We didn't participate like that. So, you know, we failed the 80s, whatever. We wanted to end the song somehow because it had that sort of a kind of a seventh. If you've seen past episodes, you know I love me some major sevenths. So start on the C. So just hitting those four strings here. Third fret, second string, second fret, third string down, and just pluck out those four notes. Just move it all down one string each. So there it is. I failed the 80s. It's got potential to develop into something, but you know, we'd love it if you could help us develop it. Us, I mean, it's like I'm using the royal we or something because it's my show, but it's also your show. We're all fellow living room guitarists, and we would just love to collaborate with each other and enjoy what we can create on this fretboard and have fun making music. All right, so join us, livingroomguitarist@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you, and we will see you on the next episode as I play just a little bit of this out here if I can remember it competently.